Alrighty, welcome. Thank you guys all for being here. We're going to go ahead and get started. I appreciate the turnout. It's great. I was talking to a few of you guys earlier before we started here. I was talking about how odd it is to be in a room at a trumpet competition and not hear trumpet, and it's honestly kind of nice. I'm not going to lie. And we're gonna purposely go through. So today we're going to talk about, if you went through the title, the world's largest venue. Right? Transforming your career through social media. So we're going to be talking about, as you go through the process of being intentional of your social media presence, how can you use it to transform your career, and how can you maybe stay away from some of the pitfalls that might happen if you're not really paying attention to what's going on as we go through that process. And there will be absolutely no trumpet in this masterclass. Which is going to be, it's not unprecedented. We have had master classes without trumpet. One very good one in particular last year, which I'm going to mention as a part of what we're doing here, because it will be pretty relevant. But it's good to kind of have that balance and kind of talk about, you know, some other things. We are more than just trumpet players, right? You are human beings, whole child, right? Children. Child is Child is a last name. Professor at UNT, amazing, incredible ukulele player, yeah. But you guys are whole individuals, and you have passions, and you have dreams, and you have things that have nothing to do with the trumpet, and also things that, if you infuse them within your overall knowledge and passion and skill of the trumpet, you can kind of kickstart and jumpstart your career. So there's a couple things we're going to do here. I'm going to make sure this is we're going to take an informal discussion type of approach, but I do have a very sparse amount of notes here just to make sure we don't go into some tangent for 90 minutes and then realize we haven't talked about anything that we really need to go through. I went through that. We're going to talk about social media's climate and how it affects the modern day musician. But before we get to that point, it's probably necessary to do a little bit of cognitive reframing. How many of you guys, so first of all, how many of you guys are here at NTC for the first time? Show of hands. Okay, awesome, great. It seems to be a little over a third of you here, which is nice, which means some of you guys have been here multiple times. How many of you guys were at NTC last year? Awesome. So this has been an impactful enough experience for you that you went from Delaware all the way over, almost across to the other side of the country, which is really cool. How many of you guys were performing in ensembles yesterday? Okay, awesome. You should be proud of yourselves. There was, in my mind, there was about 30 or so finalists, quality ensembles that were at that event. So it's really cool. I just kind of want to go through the process of just talking about the event itself. NTC has been around for, I believe it's 30 competitive years. Is that correct? Do you know off the top of your head? Ish, about 30 competitive years, and it's created a really huge, impact in our overall world. And my guess is that most of you, your first experience coming across NTC was via social media. Is that accurate? Yeah. Maybe YouTube? Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so had you not had that experience, maybe you wouldn't have been privy to this type of experience here at this setting, right? Now, how many? I think we have. Most of our board is out doing a bunch of things. That's cool. It's great that we're doing that. I just want to take time to appreciate, and a lot of them told me they're going to watch the live stream, so we're going to go ahead and do this anyway. I want to take some time to kind of just appreciate the amount of work that goes into putting this type of thing together. Some of you guys know that I'm on the board as a newer member, and I sort of came in and saw what they were doing, and kind of we hit the ground running, and just to see all of the things that and the considerations and everything, as well as Rebecca Wilt, our event director. I'm going to make them watch this so that they can hear your appreciation. But I just want you guys, as we start here, if NTC has had any sort of positive impact in your life in any way, I want for you to give an applause for the live stream, right, that we will then kind of talk about in a minute. But I want you to give an applause that's indicative of the scope and the overall size of the impact that this has had in your life. I'll say 3, 2, 1, go, and we'll all cheer together. Does that make sense? Cool, yeah? So if it's had absolutely no impact on your life at all and you really could care less, then don't bother clapping, right? And then we'll all make fun of, no, we won't make fun of you. But if it's had a huge impact, then maybe it's a standing ovation, maybe it's a hooping and hollering, maybe it's a at the top of your lungs, yeah, type of deal, right? So we're gonna do that, and I just wanna get a gauge by your applause how NTC has shaped your life. Can we do that? Okay, in 3, 2, 1, go. Awesome. Okay, so you know what's interesting? I'm like looking around at every individual here and I'm going, okay, everyone has been impacted by NTC, right? Now, not only that, but I took sort of a rough count of the number of you guys that came in. First of all, it's a great turnout. Thank you guys for being here. We've about 50 people showed up at the beginning of this masterclass. Now, here's a really cool thing about social media, right? And this is sort of the first part of our cognitive reframing that I kind of want you guys to understand, right? If you have ever been a creator of any sort, right? If you've posted a video to TikTok or to YouTube, or you've posted a carousel to Instagram, or whatever the case may be, you look at the analytics, most of the time, if you look and you get maybe, say, 50 views or so, you're probably gonna look at that and go, oh, nobody watched my video. Nobody took a look, you know. It was a flop, right? Nobody cares about what I have to do, right? But did you guys hear the applause you just had based off of the impact that NTC has had? This is 50 people, right? So when you think about what 50 people sounds like and how much energy and how much vibrancy exists within that group, suddenly you start to realize there's a much bigger impact there than you realize, right? Now the other part of that is 50 people could be people you've never met. It could be your heroes who you have been dying to meet, right? And maybe you have a video that's posted and there's only 5 views, right? What if those 5 views are Wynton Marsalis, right? Alan Vizzutti, Tom Hooten? Does that still not matter? Of course it matters, right? You'd be super excited and thrilled and humbled, right? So the first thing we want to understand as we talk about the world's largest venue and how we can use it to kind of build our career, it's less so that you're trying to fill the venue, right? And it's more so that you understand that the venue is large enough that there is a group of people who will be extremely passionate and will be impacted by literally any niche that you could possibly think of. And that includes what you guys have here to do, right? And most likely, if you are here at NTC right now, you have some connection to the trumpet. Maybe, I'm taking a wild guess there. And if you competed, especially those of you who competed in that ensemble, those ensemble divisions yesterday, right? Probably you've gone pretty far with your skills and there's a lot of merit to your playing, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be here. It was a very competitive environment to get here, right? Which means you have a craft that is progressed far enough that you can go into the niche and you can create something of value to a specific audience and continue to grow upon that audience. Right? Okay, cool, good. Thank you guys for that. That's the first thing we want to talk about because a lot of times we get into this feeling of, oh yeah, I only got 100 views. 100 people is a lot of people, right? Yeah. And unfortunately, if you don't kind of get in that mindset first when we talk about social media, that will happen all the time. You'll grow to 5,000 subscribers on YouTube and you'll only get 1,500 views on your video. You'll be disappointed. Now my videos usually get 3,000. So I'm operating at 50% capacity, right? And then you'll continue to grow and you'll get 20,000 subscribers on YouTube, or you'll get 50,000 followers on TikTok, or whatever it is, right? And then you post a video and you're like, man, the algorithm hates me. It hates me so much. I only got 20,000 views on that past video. This is absurd. 20,000 views, right? But we have this sort of issue where we go through and we compare ourselves to what we feel as though should be that pinnacle. And one of the things we're going to talk about is why not only is it a good thing to appreciate and be proud of the smaller audience that's active and engaged and has felt impacted, right? but why you might even not necessarily want to have a larger audience, and how sometimes that can kind of harm your career if that's the number one thing that you're looking for and that you're going towards, right? So we're going to talk about that in a minute. That was the first thing. The second thing, the second thing is we have a wonderful group of critics in our music field, right? In the classical music field specifically, who like to say things like, classical music is dying, right? Or it's dead, right? We have people who say things like, oh, you know, studies show that 3% of the world likes classical music, right? Oh, you know, if only we could move it to 4%, our problems would be over, type of deal. You know what I find really interesting is that when you go to recent data, it actually kind of proves the opposite. There's a study that was done in 2022 by Epidemic Sound on the use of classical music via content creators, specifically on YouTube, right? So YouTube, robust platform, second largest search engine in the world, 2.5 billion active users, right? Like 25,000 million, right? Like that's a ton of people, right? And studies show that the use of classical music, both passively as background music as well as actively in music performances and music videos, has increased by 90% over a 12-month period in 2022, right? So that's almost double. So classical music dying, no, I don't think so. And not only that, but with a large audience like that, you have the opportunity to take your craft, right? And go get a piece of that pie, a piece of that action, right? And contribute to that growth in a way that provides value to those individuals who are contributing to the rise of classical music and of music in general by consuming that type of thing. And it'll also help you to sort of build your career, build a knowledge base. How many of you guys came here to NTC and you met somebody at NTC who you've never met in person before, but you follow them on social media? How many of you guys? Yeah, because same. Me too. Yeah. How many of you guys have been following someone on social media for over a year that you've met here at NTC for the first time? Yeah. Do you guys see the power of that? Now, otherwise, you might not even know that person until you get to NTC, right? And maybe nothing might compel you to interact with that human being, right? But it's possible that you have a bunch of positive experiences of that individual before ever even meeting them in person and getting to talk to them. That's pretty amazing, right? Yeah. So hopefully that's the easier reframe. Classical music is not dying. We can agree on that, yes? Awesome. And probably it's better than it's ever been, arguably, right? And we're able to push it in a way that we never have. And social media is being a really big driving force in how we do that, okay? Okay, cool. So we're going to go forward and we're going to talk a little bit about the overall nature of how algorithms work in social media in general, right? We're going to be really simple about this. However, I would like for you guys, we're going to go as far deep in as you want to go. We'll go as specific as you want to go with how to understand algorithms, how to understand how to find your audience, and how social media works overall. But it's really important that we know and we sort of understand and define what an algorithm is. A lot of people are afraid of that term. Is anyone here afraid of that term? It's okay if you are. I was when I first started. It's like, what does that mean? Like, is this some sort of AI that does this thing that's out of my control, and I have no idea whether or not I post something it's going to take any value to any audience or not. I have no control over how many views it gets, right? So here's the thing you need to know about any social media algorithm, right? Including, well, I will say media algorithms as well, right? So things like Spotify and Apple Music, et cetera, right? But also obviously YouTube, including YouTube Shorts, right? And live streams, and Twitter, right? And TikTok and Instagram and LinkedIn, any social media platform you can think of, all right? This is all you need to know, all right? I'm gonna sum this up in one sentence. The goal of a social media algorithm is to keep a viewer on the platform that they're on for as long as possible, right? And that's it. You're now a master at algorithms. Congratulations, all right? Now, when you think about what that means, And we can go from this from two perspectives, and we're going to go from it from both of them here in this masterclass. But if we think first about a creator, because it's oftentimes how we think about it, right? Oh, I made a video and nobody watched it. I posted something and nobody liked it. Oh, the algorithm hates me, right? Remember, the algorithm's job is to find your audience, right? And so if your audience, if it shows the stuff to your audience, right, and your audience loves what they see, then guess what that algorithm's going to do? It's going to show it to a bigger audience of like-minded individuals like that, right? So as we go into the process of building an audience on social media, it's really important that you make something that is engaging and that is literally remarkable. And we'll see what we'll talk about what we mean by literally remarkable, right? It might not be what you think it means, right? Able to remark, right? Which means something remarkable could be bad, terrible, controversial, something that gets people talking. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. You have to watch it. This is the worst video. Can you believe what this person said on Instagram? You haven't seen it, you have to see it, right? And you guys have probably seen some of those things go viral, right? And grab super big attention, yeah? So the algorithm is going to push things that are remarkable, that are engaging, right? Oh, it's all good. It's all good. No, it's all good. I was trying to figure out where it was coming from, what we were saying. That's okay. It's all good. It's all good. So yeah, as you go through that process, one way to build your social media presence, which we're going to talk about a little bit, is to be a phenomenal trumpet player, right? And hopefully you're able to believe that you're a great trumpet player, otherwise you wouldn't be here, right? You would not be here, okay? I'm just gonna make that very clear. The competitive divisions had more submissions this year than they ever have in its history, right? And there are some really great performers who didn't make it past prelims, right? So if you're competing at all, then you should be proud of that, right? So you fall under that realm of great musician, right? So you can do this. This applies to you. So you can take whatever it is you spent the most time on, at this point, probably whatever you competed with, whatever your piece was as an ensemble or as soloists, right? Make a recording of it and put it up on social media, and it will get traction. And suddenly, what you have is a video that is building your audience on autopilot, right? So what that means, and what we mean about that, and you're getting passive views and you're getting passive attention and networking, what we mean by that is you're essentially doing what an international touring artist would do, except there are no bounds on your time, right? You're still building and growing, even if you're sleeping, even if you're taking a vacation, even if you had something unfortunate happen like an injury or you had to take a semester off of college or whatever the case may be, you're still growing and developing that audience, right? And it transcends the bounds of location. So you could be growing fans in Colorado, in New Mexico, in Virginia, across seas, right, in various countries, and all happening at the same time. And with that, it's possible, you might imagine, if you build a career as an international touring artist, right, that you go to one place and you go to another place and you go to another place, you build a community here and community there and a community there that supports you, and overall your reputation continues to grow, and maybe after a few years you get a really big name for yourself as a professional musician, right? Or you do something remarkable on social media and that entire process happens possibly in a couple of hours. Right? So it's a really powerful tool, and if we use it to our benefit, it's going to work really well. Now, I told you guys I was going to talk about why it might be a bad idea to try to go viral, right? So we'll talk about that right now because I think it's a really important thing to worry about, right? We started this masterclass by talking about, if you posted something and only got 50 views, we consider it a flop, it's a fail. It's not a fail, we know that, which is good, awesome, because those 50 people are extremely powerful and impactful, and they sound at least as energetic as you guys sound right now. Even after listening to 2 straight days of nonstop trumpet, you still have that energy, right? Which is great, which is awesome, right? But if you go too far in the other end, right? If you run into a trend, for example, where everyone's going viral on TikTok and you say, oh, well, I want to get in on that because I want to go viral. I want to get 1 million views. I want to get 2 million views, whatever it is. And let's say perhaps it has absolutely nothing to do with the rest of your content on TikTok, right? Or on YouTube. But you just wanted to grow that audience and get that feeling. You want to be famous, right? You want to be TikTok famous. You want to be a YouTube celebrity, that type of thing. Remember the algorithm's goal, right? If you have a video that does go viral, you succeed in that, but it's not congruent with the rest of the content you have online, then the algorithm's gonna have that initial, oh, this huge amount of people enjoyed your video, and it's gonna show them more of your videos. But those videos, if they're not relevant to the one that you were known for, they're not gonna watch those videos, right? And then what happens? The algorithm says, oh, this guy's a one-hit wonder, right? And then it's not going to show the remainder of your videos to other individuals because what you've done is you've ended up confusing your audience. And there are individuals who have tried to do that. They've succeeded in making viral videos and becoming super popular, and they'll spend the rest of their social media career trying to reframe it and sometimes end up never succeeding because the video might keep getting 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 views a day. And let's say, for example, that it's a video that has to do with a popular anime, right? But your channel is about trumpet playing. And you continue to grow that audience, that anime audience. It's like, oh man, I really, really love what they did here. Let's see what else they've got. Oh, well, this isn't what I clicked on. This isn't what I subscribed for. I'm not really interested in this, right? And then you've built the reputation as someone who has let them down because they're looking for that content and it's not there. And as a result, it's going to be very difficult to recover from that, right? Now, on the flip side, if you're able to go viral and stay congruent with everything else that happens in your career, then what will happen is called you'll blow up in session time, right? Which means that if somebody likes one video, watches it all the way through and loves it, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And then YouTube shows something to them and suggested, or TikTok puts it back in your For You page, right? And you go, oh, there's that person again. Oh, wow, that was amazing, right? And then you see it again. Oh, wow, that was amazing. Wow, that was amazing, right? And what happens is the algorithm will say, oh, cool, this person really enjoys this creator's content. So as a result, we're going to put them in what's called an initial test audience. So whenever that creator posts a video, we're going to immediately show it to this audience that we know likes their content. And if they do like your content, then it tells the platform that we need to go ahead and expand that audience. And if that audience likes the platform, let's say the initial test audience was 100 people, right? And then the algorithm sends it out to 500 people, and they get the same response, it's going to send it out to 5,000 people, right? If it gets the same response, it's going to send it out to 25,000 people, and 100,000 people, and 250,000 people, right? And 1 million people, until you get to the point where it's reached an audience that's so wide and so broad that not necessarily all of those people will be interested in what you do, right? And so what happens is your overall watch time of that video goes down. And so the algorithm goes, oh, okay, we've reached the extent of that audience, right? And then that's when it stops growing, yeah? But after that point, you've garnered lots of followers, lots of supporters who are interested in what you have to do, and they're going to be craving the next time you have something to share, right? So that's how you want to do it, and that's going to take a lot longer than maybe chasing views to try to go viral, right? But if you go through that process and you go through it that way, it can completely and totally change your career, right? Now there's this thing called monetization on platforms. How many of you guys are familiar that you can make money as a content creator? How many of you guys are currently making money as content creators? Just out of curiosity. Okay, cool. So we have some people who have joined certain partner programs and joined certain sort of initiatives to make that happen. Maybe gathered some sponsorships and or brand deals, etc. Yeah. So at a certain point, when you have found your audience and you have continually given them what they're looking for, and you're able to grow to a certain size, right? Then you're eligible to join a program in which you can actually receive money to make videos on the internet or post pictures on the internet, right? And the reason for that, remember, we're going to go back to the algorithm purpose to keep the viewer on the platform for as long as possible. If they know that you're doing that to this group of individuals, then they're going to want to keep you on the platform for as long as possible, right? And as you continue to create content that your audience enjoys, and you continue to have your goals congruent with the algorithm's goals, right? Then they're going to reward you for it because they want you to stay. They don't want you to have to pick up a part-time job to pay off your bills and not have any more time to create content. Now, they want you to create content, right, so that you can continue to have your audience grow and develop, right? So as long as you're going through that process, you're going to, you could potentially transform your career in a way that, remember, gives you passive followers, grows a passive audience, and when you're monetized, gives you passive income. So that you can literally travel for a week at the beach and then still get a paycheck when you come back from that, which doesn't stink, right? That's a pretty fun thing to do, right? Cool. Okay. We're going to progress forward a little bit. I've got a couple more things, but do we have any questions so far about what we've been talking about? No questions? Just enjoying the quiet of no trumpet here right now? Yeah. Refreshing our ears for the wonderful concert that is to happen in a couple of hours? Yeah. So that we can appreciate it for all it's worth. Okay. Now, how many of you guys have created a video or a post that has gone viral on a platform? Just out of curiosity. Has anyone had that happen? Okay, keep your hand raised if you feel like it changed your life in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, look around. All the hands went down, right? There's a really big misconception. We think, oh, you know, when we go viral, we'll become famous and then everyone will know us and we'll go to Walmart and people will want our autograph, right? Oh my gosh, it's Marcus Grant in the flesh. I can't believe he's here, right? Spoilers, that doesn't happen from a viral video, right? Sometimes it doesn't happen from 10 viral videos, right? But if you're able to do what we've been talking about, which is create consistent content that you know your audience is going to enjoy, then it might happen. Because what might happen is what you guys have experienced and what you've already testified of, which is, oh my goodness, I really love this person's content. I've been following them for a year, and holy cow, now I get to see them play at the National Trumpet Competition, and this is the coolest thing ever, you know? I know of them, but I never got to meet them, and now I do get to meet them in the flesh. And that happens without getting a million views, right? That happens from the audience that is engaged, right? And the audience that loves and enjoys what you do, okay? How many of you guys have watched a video that has gained 1 million views and it has encouraged you to follow that individual, that creator, etc.? Okay, yeah. Naturally a little bit more. Did you continue to watch that creator's content after doing that? Show of hands, have you guys? Okay, so still fewer, right? But there's a little bit more in that instance. So here's the last question. Was the content after you watched the first one, was the rest of the content they did relevant to what you saw in that first initial video? Can I see those hands? And almost exactly the same hands came up, right? Yeah, so that's kind of the important thing that you want to be cognizant of as you go through this process, okay? Okay, cool. So as a creator, let's see, we've gone through all of these things. Session time, you guys understand what session time means? Kind of lacklusterly explained that, right? When you watch one piece of content, right? It's an Instagram carousel, let's say. And let's say it's an educational one. Somebody gives something that sort of blows your mind, and a great, wonderful educational moment. You go, oh, that's really great. And then you see another one. When you see a second one by that same person, you've already have preconceived notions of how you will feel about that content because of what you saw first, right? So that preconceived notion might be, oh yeah, I already understand that I'm going to have a positive experience when I see this post because of the last 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 posts that I've seen, right? And then you get to build what's called brand loyalty, right? And so at some point, when you see specific people, this happens a lot on TikTok, right? Because of the nature of how fast you can go through videos. When you see certain people, you just, as a reflex, hit that like button, right? Hit the heart, and maybe you make a comment, and you haven't even seen the video. You just know, oh, I already know I like this, right? I like this because I've liked literally everything else that they've done, right? And so, it's a really great and cool and powerful thing to kind of go through. So that would be called session time. So how much time you spend on the platform by itself, as opposed to watch time, which is how much time you spend on each individual post. How much did you watch it? Did you literally look at it, right? If it's a YouTube video, how much of that video did you watch? If it was a 5-minute video, did you watch all 5 minutes? Were you inspired by it so much you went back and watched it again, and you watched 8 minutes of that 5-minute video? That would be called watch time, right? And then after that, did you then watch another video from that same creator, and another video, and another video, because you just couldn't get enough of that? That would be called session time, right? Now, what session time does is it shows the algorithm that you are a loyal follower of that individual. So if you're the creator for which someone is binging your content, that person is going to be in your initial audience, right? And as long as you keep giving them content that they enjoy, that you enjoy, hopefully, right? If you found the right audience, then you'll continue to grow and develop. And you never really need to go viral, because every time you post a video, you're going to get a larger initial audience, and a larger initial audience, and a larger initial audience as you continue to serve in the right ways that's congruent to what you're doing, right? Okay, cool. As a viewer, there are a number of things that you can do. Now that we understand what the algorithm does, right? There are a number of things that you can do to use the algorithm to build your network, to build your career, to keep you inspired, to push you out of burnout, right? In your free time, as you would otherwise maybe be, they use the term a lot of times, doom scrolling, right? Scrolling aimlessly through content for hopes that you might get something that makes you happy, maybe, right? So if we're thinking about the overall nature of the algorithm, and you're the audience member, right? Then its job is to keep you on the platform for as long as possible, right? So let's say that you want to learn more about the business side of being a musician, and you want to use that to augment your career. And maybe you're not taking those classes in college because you just don't have time, because you're taking 18 classes, which account for 12 credit hours. As that always happens, right? As we're kind of used to that, and you don't have any time because you're playing in multiple ensembles, chamber ensembles, large ensembles, you're doing recitals, you have, right? You don't have the time to take those classes and learn that information. Well, what could you do? You could go to TikTok. You could go to Instagram. And you can seek out the individuals who are already doing that really well. And then guess what you do? You watch their content all the way to the end. And the algorithm's going to say, this person likes this content. I'm going to show them more from this creator. Okay, this person likes this creator in this niche. I'm going to show them more creators in this niche. And then suddenly, you have a carefully curated feed that is teaching you and educating you from individuals who are passionate about the very thing that you're looking to learn about. And you're doing that in your pajamas at bedtime, right? That's pretty cool, don't you think? Now, in addition to that, we go back to the other side of things. You are now creating a symbiotic relationship, right, between that creator, because you are helping that creator sustain themselves. And they're probably going to continue to create more content because they know they have an audience that enjoys it, right? Just out of curiosity, does anyone have more than one Instagram page? Okay, a good number of you guys. I'm going to make an assumption, and I want you guys to check my assumption for me. One is probably a personal one, yeah, and the other one maybe has something to do with some sort of topic. Maybe it's, your name then plays trumpet, right? Maybe it's a 100 days of practice account, right? Is that accurate? Did we hit the nail on the head there? Okay, so here's the deal. When you want to find more inspiration, when you want to find a larger network between other musicians, which account would you use? Well, of course, you're going to use the account where you're posting your own playing, right? Because when you follow them, they're going to be notified of it. They're going to see you doing that as well. And you create and build that network, right? which might have otherwise only been possible if you go to NTC and cram it all into the 3 days, and you go and you meet every single person you possibly can, and then you don't see them again until the next regional or national or international event, which might be NTC, which means you haven't seen them in 12 months, right? Or, as you've built that anticipation because you already followed them through that process, and you get to know them at the event itself, you're building a stronger, lasting connection. And then when you guys all go out and get jobs, right? And you think about certain collaborations that you want to do, who comes to mind? Well, it's the person who you became best friends with that you met over the internet, that you had the building anticipation of showing up at an event and getting to meet them in person. And then you did whatever you did. You played duets, you supported them as they competed, you created your own ensemble, whatever the case may be, right? Maybe they're a producer, right? And you're able to collab with them to produce a high quality music video for you, right? Or maybe they are a composer, and you're looking to commission new music to perform at a recital, or if you get a faculty job, right, and you're looking to get new music to expand the repertoire for your students. And you already know that individual because you follow them on social media and you've heard all their music and like, oh yeah, that music is great. I enjoy it. That person's a great composer and is a really great person, and I know so because I see them on the internet all the time, right? This is something that was not possible 10 years ago, 20 years ago, right? 10 years ago, probably some of you guys remember and maybe are still taught by, depending on who talks to you about it, right, to not talk with strangers on the internet, right? And then you get to this process where when individuals are putting themselves out there, individuals like you guys, right, working actively in your niche, and you get to meet them, suddenly it doesn't feel like they're strangers, right? And when you put yourself out there and they put themselves out there and you connect, right? And you continue to exchange ideas and support each other and grow together on your platforms and celebrate each other's successes. And then you go to NTC and go, oh my gosh, I know you from social media. Suddenly they're your best friend, even though they were a stranger on the internet, right? And you're able to build careers and open up opportunities just from literally scrolling on Instagram or scrolling on TikTok. I think that's incredible. You guys think that's incredible? Yeah, I think that's incredible. So not only are you able to control what you're shown, as we talked about, right? Your watch time is the biggest thing about that, but you're also able to curate what you're shown, right? Every single piece of content that you see, no matter what platform it is, usually there's some sort of 3 dots on the side of the video or the post or whatever, or you can click on it and it can say, I'm not interested in this. Show me less of this, right? You're able to do that, but you're also able to take a look at a piece of content and go, I'm not really a fan of that. Bye. Scroll, right? And if a YouTube video that's 6 minutes long gets watched for 30 seconds, right? Then guess what that algorithm's gonna say? Oh yeah, this person doesn't like this content. We're not gonna show it to them, right? So then you have the opportunity to then take quality control of what is shown to you so that the only things that are shown to you are things that inspire you, that make you grow, right? You run into new pieces that you want to learn and play for yourself, or you run into a specific technique that somebody does, way better than you could ever imagine. You go, I want to figure out how to do that, and it inspires you to learn how to do that. And you can do that literally on autopilot, just like everything else you would do on autopilot via social media, right? Now, just out of curiosity, how many of you guys have bought a piece or learned a solo because you heard or saw someone play it online? Okay, so you guys understand the impact of that. What if you hadn't heard it or played it online, right? That's a piece that would not be in your repertoire. Now, how many of you guys enjoyed the piece that you added to your repertoire from that? Yeah, awesome. You know why? Because the algorithm's goal is to keep you on the platform for as long as possible, so it's gonna give you things that it knows you like based off of that history, right? So if you run into a piece of music on YouTube, you're probably going to like that piece of music because it's literally the one job of the algorithm of that platform, right? Is to give you something that you're going to like and that you're going to enjoy. Because at the end of the day, what happens if they don't do that is that you leave the platform, right? And then their audience gets smaller, And then what ends up happening is that companies that want to show ads to you or sponsorships or brand deals and whatnot, they have a smaller audience to go from. And they're not going to pay as much money to have their ad shown in front of a smaller audience, right? And as a result, that platform suffers. So as you might think, it's about money. Surprise. Nothing else is about money, just social media. It's the only thing, right? Yeah. And as we mentioned before, if you get monetized on the platform, remember it's going to give you a cut of that, right? And the more you build a active and engaged and impactful audience, very much like we heard the 50 individuals here in this room clap about the impact of NTC and how strong and energetic that was, right? If you have that dialed in and passionate audience who is impacted by your content, the ads that are shown on that platform are going to be targeted to that specific audience. So you might see a Yamaha ad when you're watching a musician create, for example, a multi-track online, right? And as a result of that, they're willing to pay quite a bit of money to make that happen because they know it's the audience that they're looking for. They know it's the audience that isn't going to get annoyed by the release of a new trumpet, for example, right? Or a new microphone, or whatever it is, whatever that case may be, because it's tailored to that specific audience, right? Cool. All right. Questions so far? Thoughts? Does this information surprise anyone? Okay, so hopefully what we never want to hear ever for the rest of forever is I posted a video and it only got 50 views. It's a flop. The algorithm hates me. I will never succeed on this platform, right? Because we've already talked about, first of all, the algorithm doesn't hate you. It's finding your audience for you, right? And it's your job to keep that audience entertained. And two, we know what 50 people sounds like, right? It's pretty awesome, yeah. And in many of these cases in these competitions, we've had 50 to 80 or so people watching these competitions, and you hear the cheering that happens, and it's like deafening if you really like the performance, if it impacted you, right? That's the audience that you're dealing with, so that's what we want to think about as we go through that process, okay? All right. Now, as a viewer or as a creator, this is the most important part of the process as you go through this. You have the opportunity, we refer to it as social media, right? So there's a media aspect of it, but there's a social aspect of it as well, right? So as we talked about, as we started this masterclass, you are more than just a trumpet player, right? You are more than just a musician, and you have passions, and you have dreams, and you have desires that you can incorporate that make you unique to yourself, right? That no one else can replicate, which is pretty good news because last I checked, I am not, insert musician name here, right? I am not Tom Hooten, right? And I probably will never be Tom Hooten. And by probably, I mean definitely, because there's only one Tom Hooten. But do you know what's really cool? There's also only one Marcus Grant, right? And if I take all of the elements of the passions and everything that I'm interested in, and I infuse that into my career, into that big passion, the highly refined act that I spend tens of thousands of hours on, right? Blowing air through a piece of metal, locking ourselves behind four walls for the majority of our college career, right? So that we can learn how to master the art of making a piece of metal vibrate with our face, right? If you take that by itself, that might not be very interesting to the average person, right? But when you take your personality and you infuse it in that, so maybe, for example, you do really love sound euphonium, right? Example of an anime. We mentioned anime before, right? And you do a cover of music that happens from that piece, you're going to ignite the attention of a group of individuals who might be interested in music and might be interested specifically in that particular anime, that particular show, right? Or if you're absolutely obsessed with the Avengers, right? Or maybe as a musician, you're specifically obsessed with the music in the Avengers, yeah? And you start to do, cover songs of that, but it's cover songs of you with your highly trained, high quality performing skills, right? People are gonna watch that video that may never come to an event like the National Trumpet Competition, right? or the International Trumpet Guild, or Midwest Clinic, or whatever, insert name here, or your college recital, right? Just as they happen to be scrolling through TikTok, right? And maybe they're scrolling through aimlessly because they didn't watch this masterclass, right? And they're scrolling through and they just happen to run into you and you're playing trumpet because you enjoy the trumpet and you're playing Avengers music because you enjoy the Avengers. You might blow their mind, right? They might look at that and go, holy cow, this is music that I really like, and I didn't know that the trumpet could do this. And then guess what happens? You get a follower. That's what happens. Or a subscriber if you're on YouTube, right? And if you have more Avengers content because you can't get enough of it, and they can't get enough of it either, they're gonna go, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Oh my, and they're gonna start showing it to their friends, right? Have you seen this? And your audience will continue to grow, remember, on autopilot, right? So as you're going through the process and you're posting your video up and it gets 50 views and you go, oh no, it only got 50 views, right? And then you post another video, oh no, I only got 40 views. Oh no. And then you post a video and maybe it gets 6,000 views, right? And it's the same type of video and within the same niche as all of your other videos. Those people who watched that video that got 6,000 views, they're gonna be shown the video that got 50 views. And suddenly 50 views turns into 2,000 views, right? Because it was congruent with what you had before. And that's how you grow a platform and go viral without destroying your career, right? If you join the trend because you realize that your friend did it and it got 2 million views, and you do it, I'll tell you what, I hope you don't succeed on that, because if so, it's gonna destroy your career, right? If everyone is following you for this thing that you've only done once, then they're never gonna watch anything else that you do, right? And as a result of that, you're not gonna be able to build your audience from that. Okay, cool. Do we have any questions? Do any of you miss trumpet yet? Miss trumpet sounds? Question? Yes, go ahead.
You talked a little bit about it, but I was wondering what you think about the balance between content that you like as a creator and content that, for example, you think the viewer is going to like, and how you manage that.
That's a really good question. Ties into the title of this masterclass, right? The nature of the venue, right? Which is, now we talked about YouTube's numbers. YouTube by itself, 2.5 billion active users, right? If you stay true to what you're passionate about and you continue to improve upon the quality of that, you're gonna find the audience that's passionate about the same things that you're passionate about, right? And it might take a little bit longer, but it's gonna be more sustainable for you in the long term. You're gonna have a loyal audience. You're gonna have people who enjoy what you're doing, right? So that's always going to be the main and primary focus if it's something that you want to be a part of your career, or if it's something that you want as a valuable, passionate pastime, right, to build your audience. The moment you stray from that is the moment you get audience members that might not necessarily be as passionate about what you're sharing as you are, right? So rarely will you ever want to be in a situation where you go, well, okay, I know that a bunch of people are going to watch this, so I don't really like it, but I'm gonna do it, right? Because then you do that and heaven forbid you succeed, right? Then you're gonna be pigeonholed into that side of the niche and you're gonna feel like you have to answer to it. Does that make sense? Answer your question? Yeah, cool. Thank you for that question. Other questions or thoughts? Go ahead.
I just had a quick one.
Yeah.
Do you know, does the algorithm favor, let's say, newer content over older content? So, say last night I saw them remaking like the Magic Flute, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you did Queen of the Night on Piccolo years ago, and now all of a sudden Magic Flute's getting prominence. Does it take that old video and put it back, or should I delete that video, re-upload it, and get in that current wave? Or
yes and no. It depends on your platform. If we're talking about Instagram values relevance, and so it's very. It would be a very appropriate thing for you to do if you have a video that's 2 years old, right? And you notice that maybe a Netflix show starts featuring that music, and now everyone's watching that. Not that that's ever happened, right? Yeah. Maybe for example, you see like the Haydn concerto show up in a show, hypothetically, right? And maybe you performed the height and you're really proud of that recording, and maybe you're in a master's and that was like your undergraduate recital like 2 or 3 years ago, right? And you're proud of that. On YouTube, you can keep it put, right? Because the algorithm's going to continue to circle through that content, and it will show content that has been on the platform for its entire existence. So if you made it in 2009 and it's relevant to what people are looking for today, it's going to show you the video from 2009. But in the case of Instagram, right, you'll want to repost that because Instagram is going to show videos from creators who are active on the platform. That makes sense? Yeah. So if you have a YouTube channel, you might have had an experience at some point where you posted a video that no one watched at all. And then someday you woke up and you realized that the video is getting like 24 views a day, or 200 views a day, or 1,000 views a day, right? And that's why, that's the process from which it goes by. But the nature of when you post content to something like Instagram and TikTok, a little bit so, although they're refining their algorithm to be a little bit more sustainable like YouTube's. But with the recency side of things, in order to find a video on the platform, you'd have to, one, search through all of the amount of content that person has posted for however many years before you have that. So it'll be a lot easier to just kind of post that as a new, as a quote unquote repost, right? Is what we call it. And then put it at the forefront of people's feeds, and it'll show it again. And once a video on or a carousel, et cetera, on a platform like Instagram tops off, it usually doesn't come back. There are some exceptions to that, but it's a lot more likely that that'll happen somewhere like TikTok, and significantly more likely on somewhere like YouTube. Cool. Answer your question? Are there other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Sometimes, so for myself, I've had like a music account for about a year, a little bit more than a year, and I don't really make content because I don't make videos specifically to post
Sure.
them. It's
Yeah.
more of like just an account where I post things that I play just for myself to document and also for other people to see and to
Yeah.
discover me. But sometimes I don't know what makes a video more popular than another video, because I've had like a few videos like a while ago that, got a couple thousand views, and then like more recent videos that got less views. And
Yeah.
it's like I don't really, because I don't post different things, I kind of post, the same stuff. Like, and it's like I don't really know what the difference is. So is there a way to kind of figure out what it is that people like?
Sure. That's a good segue into our next topic, so I appreciate you bringing that up. It's a really good question. And that comes to, from a creative standpoint, how you would audit your own content, right? So if you're posting videos and one video gets 1,000 views and the other video gets 1 view, right? And you're posting the same type of in this case, music, right? There are multiple factors that come to play in that instance that you'll be able to find if you dive into your analytics for those videos, which every platform has. You can find it in every sense, and some are more robust than others. YouTube's, you can get lost in it for literally thousands of hours, and maybe not even necessarily learn anything if you don't know what you're looking for, right? But what you look for, like we mentioned before, is overall watch time, right? And most platforms are getting to the point as well where they do what YouTube has done. I think they maybe started at first, where you watch, when someone watches a video for a certain amount of time, it shows you the percentage of individuals who watch a specific part of your video. So it'll give you a graph. At the beginning, everyone has watched it, and so it's at 100%. Or if somebody watches it more than once, you might get 120%, right? And then it usually dips down because certain people go through and they go, oh yeah, this was a good video, but now I'm bored, next video, right? And then sometimes there's certain aspects where there's a certain part of the video where someone is just so impressed by it that they want to go back and watch it again, or someone, skips to that part and they want to see it, and so you'll see it rise up. And you can see that in a lot of analytics for things nowadays. What you would search for is, what exactly are you doing at that point in the video that's causing people to watch that? Right? And the more often that type of thing happens, so for example, let's say because we're trumpet players, and this is very relevant, right? You played a really high note, and it was really loud, and it was super impressive. And the high school person or maybe the college person who's watching that goes, holy cow, I've never heard a note that high, right? I want to watch that again, right? And they watch that, and then they're more engaged because they have that positive feeling. They're more engaged to watch the rest of your video, and maybe in anticipation for the next high note that you play, right? And as a result, they're watching a larger part of that video. And then maybe, let's say maybe the next video is, a beautiful piece of music, but it doesn't have high notes, and they were looking for high notes, right? So they might listen for about a minute or so, and maybe it's an 8-minute, video, and they go, oh, well, there's no flash here. Where are the high notes? I don't hear any high notes here. Let me find another video. Maybe they have something else, right? So that's usually what it boils down to. And of course, what we're talking about, what happens here, is that the overall watch time of the video is going down, right? And we're talking in this case about YouTube, but the same can be the case for community posts, so text posts, as well as pictures. Specifically carousels on Instagram, right, that you flip through the multiple, and if you don't go through all the way to the very end, then that accounts to that watch time as well. So you can usually find that information through that way, and if you ever wanted to capitalize that and maybe make more, get more views on the video, and you notice that same thing happens on those videos that are more popular, then you'd make more videos like that, as long as you are passionate about what it is that you're building, right? And you're not just doing it to please the audience, because again, as we mentioned before, if you're trying to get as many views as you possibly can, and you see that one thing works, and you hate it, but you do it because you want the attention, well, everyone is now expecting you to do that for as long as you, and if you don't do that, you disappoint them. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Now, I think it's really important to kind of understand this overall, the importance of doing what you are passionate about, right? But I think it's also important to understand that something that is remarkable isn't necessarily something of high performance quality, right? What you're looking for is something that's engaging, that either elicits some sort of emotion in your viewer, right? That makes them happy, or if you hate them, that makes them angry, right? So they're either gonna go, this was incredible, and show their best friend, check this out, or they're gonna go, this triggered the daylight out of me, check this out, doesn't this make you angry too? I can't believe they did that, right? And in either case, that builds your engagement and things grow. Now, I don't know about you, I typically don't like to be the type of creator that is hated and makes controversial things, right? But if that's your cup of tea, then I won't stop you from doing that. But understand that's how that happens. So videos that that make you angry, that have millions of views, that's why, it's because you're engaging with it, right? And that's the case again with every social media platform. That's the case with Facebook statuses, right? That's the case with Pinterest. That's the case with Twitter. That's the case with LinkedIn, right? So you might think to an example where somebody posted on, let's say hypothetically, a trumpet group on Facebook. Maybe there's some, I don't know, I've never checked, right? Are there any trumpet groups on Facebook? I wouldn't know. Maybe somebody posted something, hypothetically, that caused a stir of discussion, right? Which seems to be slightly common in those types of groups, right? I actually just recently posted a question because I was very curious. I wanted to know what people thought the range of the trumpet was, right? So I went into, you guys know trumpets, trumpeters, and trumpeting? Great group of great and amazing people, right? But also a really large group. We talked about that large venue. So you have individuals who are really great, and then you have individuals who never practice because they spend all their time answering every comment on social media, right? And everything in between. And probably if they're there, they're the ones who are making the comments first. And it's funny because I said, I'm trying to remember the exact wording. I think I said something to the effect of, what do you believe is the overall range of the trumpet? And people were offended. What do you mean belief? It's a fact. Trumpet can do this, right? And then we have people that went, well, I can play, a high F. So I think that's the range. You should listen to Maynard Ferguson to play a double C, right? And they start talking about people playing and other people's range rather than the instrument's range. And sometimes those things can happen, right? The people were unhappy with the post which I thought was super fascinating. I didn't think there was any malice in that post. But that post started to get really popular because people were literally remarking on it. It was remarkable, right? So as you go through that process, just understand that's what makes videos, posts, contents drive up. It's not being great at your craft per se, right? It's being remarkable. Now, if you're so great at your craft that it in itself is remarkable, then yes, absolutely. But you know the opposite of remarkable is that little gray area in between where we are as all professional musicians, right? Where it's pretty darn good, but also it's where about 80% of those of us who have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of hours practicing is, and there's nothing remarkable about that because it's expected, right? And you can find literally thousands of other musicians who are performing at that level, right? And to the untrained ear, even if you have the smaller nuances at a different level than someone else does, it might not matter because they might not understand to that nuance, right? And so they might not necessarily be interested in you slaying the every living daylight out of the Tomasi concerto, right? They might go, oh, this is a boring piece. Meh, next, scroll, right? Whereas you might, well, I can use myself as an example, right? The most viewed video on my YouTube channel is a video that starts with me swiveling around on a chair playing a G on top of the staff. And then it cuts to me like posing on the floor playing a G inside the staff. And then it cuts to me facing the wrong way in the camera playing a G below the staff. And then the last two pitches are false pedal tones, right? So I played 5 octaves of Gs, and the last note is basically a farting sound, farted on the trumpet, and people go, oh, that's hilarious, that's awesome, right? And they watch it again, and it gets a ton of views, yeah. And meanwhile, I have other multi-tracks where I spend maybe 100 hours on them for editing and that type of thing, and I'm pretty proud of them, and they have really, really high quality, and people comment on them, they're like, wow, that's great, but the video that has 120,000 views on my channel is the one where I made a fart noise while lying down on it, right? Because it's remarkable. Right? So that's the important thing that we understand, and it shows, and in that particular point I was showing a little bit of my personality, right? You are more than a trumpet player, yeah? So that's a very important thing to kind of deal with. Now here's the thing, because that's my personality, because sometimes I'm really serious and other times I'm really quirky, right? And I relish in the aspect of being able to build your skills to a point where you can afford to quote unquote not take yourself seriously, right? And maybe you can sound great, but also just enjoy life, and you can put both of those things together. That is something that was congruent with the type of content that I wanted on my channel, right? And so as a result of that, there are other videos where, for example, I purposely botch a C major scale, and it gets, I think that video is getting 100 views a day. It's absolutely hilarious. Which was a response to a specific comment by a specific person on TikTok, who I won't call out. I won't call you out in front of everyone, unless you want me to. Jessica, raise your hand. Hi. Jessica is a content creator who we were talking about a little bit, right? How you build the anticipation of, you get to know someone over social media, and then you show up at NTC and you're like, oh my gosh, I know you from social media. And then you become best friends, even though you've only seen each other in person for like 30 minutes. Yeah, that's us. We're best friends. Yeah, yeah. So at one point I made a challenge on TikTok. I was like, hey guys, give me something really difficult. And I'll do a cover of it, I'll do a video about it, or whatever. And Jessica commented, I bet you can't play a C major scale. So what I did a couple things. One, I picked up a C trumpet on purpose, and then I played a C major scale, but I messed up the last 2 notes, right? And so some people thought that was really funny, and it was shareable content. And I cross-posted it to a few platforms, and they all did well, right? But then also, the purposeful part where I picked up a C trumpet, you know when you start band, you probably don't play a C trumpet, right? You play B-flat trumpet. So there's a ton of comments on that video going, isn't that technically a concert B-flat major scale? And then we get to go, no, it's not, you're wrong. But I got you to remark on my video, and we've increased the engagement, right? And actually what happened with that video is I actually ended up making a separate video teaching the difference between C trumpet and B-flat trumpet. And people go, oh my gosh, I never knew that, and I've played trumpet for 7 years. Yeah, don't feel bad. It usually only happens in college for most of us, right? And that's more engagement and more conversation, yeah? So these are the types of things I'm talking about. I was not playing at a, 100% pristine level of performance on my botched C major scale, right? But it was engaging enough to an audience that they go, oh, I kind of like this guy, he's funny, I'm gonna follow him. And then they watch the other content, right? And then they see me, doing things like headbutting my cell phone for content, right? And then they also see the videos where I do spend dozens of hours, hundreds of hours on maybe a multi-part video as a multi-track. And they go, oh, wow, this guy's actually, a better trumpet player than I thought he was when I heard him play the C major scale, right? And so they begin to build that interest. And so what they discover is, oh, this is someone who's passionate about their instrument, like all of you, right? And they're actually not afraid to show their personality on the screen. They're willing to give us something that we enjoy, right? Are there any questions about that? Because that's kind of a big thing to wrap our minds around. I hope I explained it in a way that is at least intuitive, yeah? So you don't have to be the best trumpet player in the world to be the most popular trumpet player in the world. But you do have to be the most genuine and the most engaging, right? And the most consistent. Consistency means a ton of things. And we're not talking about what you might think, which is, oh, I gotta post a video every day. But what we are talking about is posting content that relates to all of the other content that you've posted, right? And that builds what we talked about that session time, right? Okay, cool. I think there's just a couple of things that I want to talk about before we issue a couple of challenges for you guys. Now, before we get to that, I want to stop and pause for a moment. So as one of the things I do on the board, as a member of the board, is I monitor the NTC YouTube channel. And something really cool happened yesterday. A lot of you guys who are at NTC and you enjoyed your time here, you decided maybe that you wanted to see the videos of some of the performers who maybe made finals for the ensembles last year, or yesterday, right? And you said, oh yeah, I want to see NTC's content. We had 81 people subscribe last night, which is super cool. That's pretty awesome. If you didn't know this, YouTube does live stream masterclasses like this one, right? And they put them out on replay, and we also live stream all of the finals events, and they also are available via replay, right? So when we talked about, from the viewer standpoint, you curating your platform to show you things that are engaging and inspiring, if somebody engages and inspires you today, then I would encourage you, or tomorrow, then I would encourage you to subscribe to us on YouTube, because you'll get to see that video from what happens tomorrow, right? And I mean, really, if you like trumpet, we talked about the impact of NTC that's been here, and we had everyone applause, right? If you're not subscribed, you can subscribe anyway, right? Because we have artists like, Phil Smith doing a masterclass at NTC, right? We have artists like Ashley Hall doing masterclasses and performing, right? We have people like Doc Severinsen, right? And Rex Richardson and Alan Vizzutti. Alan Vizzutti playing Carnival of Venus, by the way. I think that was maybe 2012, sometime at that. That's like a really funny video. Alan is a really good example as someone who shows his personality as he performs, right? And that's one of the reasons why he's so well known, is because he's a phenomenal player and a likable person, right? And if he was a jerk, maybe he wouldn't be quite as popular, right? But he's a great guy and a great player, right? But you can see all of that content on your own, right? By going to the YouTube channel. So if you're not subscribed, I would encourage you to subscribe, and then the algorithm's gonna go, oh, this person likes NTC, and we're gonna show videos about NTC to this individual. So next time you type youtube.com and you go to the homepage, you might see last year's winner of NTC, or this year's winner of NTC, or 5 years ago's winner of NTC in whatever division it is that interests you the most, that you watch more of. Cool? Awesome. So a couple things that we want to talk about when it comes to social media, and we're going back to that creator side of things. It is more important, far more important, to be prolific than it is to be perfect. Okay, we talked about that a little bit, previously here. But if you think about the aspect of what it takes to do, for example, win an orchestra gig, right? You're probably going to spend hours of time, multiple days, weeks, months, maybe even years, preparing specific excerpts to get it to the absolute highest level you possibly can get it to. And hopefully that's something you enjoy, right? If you're doing that type of thing, yeah. But that's not going to make nearly as big a difference on TikTok as it's going to make on the first round of your orchestral audition, right? So if you're looking to make a presence known and build a network on social media, it might be more advantageous for you to spend 5 hours to make 5 videos than to spend 5 hours to clean one passage in one video, right? Because then you have 5 chances for individuals to see your content, right? And to binge through all of them, and to trigger that algorithm to say, oh, I found an audience member for this creator, we're going to show more content for them, right? So prolific, when it comes to social media, will always beat perfect, okay? Cool. And the second thing is, most of the time, and you can think back to the video that you might have seen that went viral, or the video of yours that might have went viral. Most of the time, that video has gone viral because you have placed a spotlight on something or someone that by definition was engaging or remarkable to the viewer, not that you were the spotlight, right? So as a performer, obviously if you give a recital, you are the spotlight, right? If I give the Marcus Grant faculty recital, then people are there because they want to see Marcus Grant play the trumpet, right? And I'm in the spotlight, right? However, hypothetically on TikTok, if I maybe post a video, again hypothetically, right, of a former teacher who got married and we ambushed that teacher with Here Comes the Bride, right? The spotlight is on that individual, which then tells a story about my values and the things that I enjoy, and is then relatable to that viewer. And as a result, that viewer is able to see that story and appreciate it, and they're more likely to watch that content, right? Versus if I had tried to maybe put together a multi-track of Here Comes the Bride, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have gotten 2 million views, right, on TikTok. Oh, cool, that's cute. This person can play Here Comes the Bride, right? But suddenly there's a story element to it, that this person was surprised and relished that experience, and also, you get to hear all the other trumpet players playing that, and you might think, oh, they sound pretty good at that. And then you start to ask questions, well, how much do they practice that, or whatever the case may be. Or you might think back to a time that you surprised a professor, right? Or whatever that case may be. And so because you have that story and relatable element to that, that is what ends up making it a lot more engaging, right? So you don't necessarily want to make yourself the spotlight, but you do want to be prolific. Right? Now, we've known this all the time. We don't necessarily know that we know. When you go to a theme park, what happens to the price of your food? Right? And it's not because the food is so much better, right? And you really, really want to partake of that food. No, it's because you're at the park, you're at that area, right? And so the spotlight of that experience is you being at the park and enjoying that. And for the convenience of you already being there, you're just going to go, you're not going to leave the park, right? You're going to eat the food at the park. So as a result, those businesses end up benefiting from being able to raise their price as a result of that. Or an airport, those of you guys who flew in to NTC, right? And maybe you bought a bottle of water for $7 at your terminal, right? It's not because that water is so much better than the water that you could have gotten at Walmart when you weren't on the plane. It's for that convenience factor, right? And sometimes as a necessity factor. The spotlight of that experience was getting on that travel to NTC, right? But in the vicinity were those other experiences that you needed to have, right? And so that's a really kind of important element to be sure of. If you are serving your audience in that way, that you're able to shine the spotlight on other individuals, guess what's going to happen? Because you're in the vicinity, it's going to continue to grow your platform and your channel, right? And that's maybe good news for some of you guys who are like me, who are introverts, whose social battery runs out every half hour, right? You put on a big face, oh yeah, it's so great to see you, yeah, this is great, et cetera, blah, blah. Yeah, we should absolutely hang out every single day for 5 months. I would love that. Yeah. And then you go home and you go to sleep, right? And you're like, I hope they don't text me, right? I hope they don't call me, type of deal. Yeah, maybe that's good news for you that you don't want people's focus to be on your playing or on whatever it is you're doing, your teaching, whatever you're showing, that piece of content, right? And that you may be saying, well, my former teacher, Joey Tartell, is my former teacher, right, said X, Y, Z, and this was inspirational because blah, 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 right? And then go, oh yeah, that's Joey Tartell. I think I know that name. I think he plays high notes or something. Which, side note, I think it's amazing that he plays bass trumpet as well as he does. We have one video at NTC that we weren't able to get as a replay like years ago. It was when one of the times when Champa Mundi was performing at NTC. And there was a part in their concert where they had bass trumpet involved. And Joey was playing the bass trumpet, of course, and going through those. And at some point at the end of that piece, they thought it was necessary to paste a double C at the end. And people, and a lot of the other members are going like, oh yeah, I'm playing this instrument, so I don't think I can. I'm doing this. And Joe's like, oh, I'll do it. They're like, no, you won't. You're playing bass trumpet. No, watch. And then he puts down his bass trumpet and picks up a B-flat trumpet, completely cold, 20 minutes not playing it, and then nails a double C. And then he does that in the concert. That's one of those things, like some things you go and you're like, oh, that was really cool. And then other times, like this instance, you just like laugh hysterically because you're like, that's not possible. That's not a real thing. What did I just watch? Right? But if you put the spotlight on something like that, right? For example, if you're NTC as an organization, we'd be putting a spotlight on a trumpet ensemble. That would be the example of what we're showing here, right? Then individuals go through that process and they go, wow, that was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Does NTC have more things like that? And spoilers, the answer is yes, we do. Yeah, we have more great trumpet playing, 100% because of you guys, by the way, right? Because if you weren't here, that wouldn't be possible. But that's how you go through that process. Any thoughts or questions about that? Okay. I have 2 challenges for you guys before we wrap up. Are we doing okay on time? Okay. Don't run out of time? Okay. I have 2 challenges for you guys before we wrap up. Right? 1, raise your hand again if you were in a trumpet ensemble that performed yesterday at some point. Okay. The vast majority of you guys. Okay. I mean it when I say this. You had remarkable performances. Okay. And it would be a shame if only the people here at NTC in this tiny little niche of trumpet players saw the quality of performance that you built up to at this point. So take your trumpet ensemble, whether you advanced or not, go home to your colleges, etc., and record the end result of that video, right? You do not have to be a professional videographer. You can do the same exact thing you did when you submitted your prelims, right? But record that performance and post it on social media and then see what that response is. And when you do so, tag the National Trumpet Competition and put hashtag NTC 2023 and we'll see it. And maybe we'll even share it and give you a shout out, right? That's challenge number 1. Do you guys think you can do that? Yes, awesome, enthusiastic, I love it. Please do that. People who know that you play the instrument, at a high level and you're looking to be professional, right? But maybe have never heard you since you went into college, but now they hear you play that, they're now gonna get a bigger story about what you're doing and they're gonna be impressed by that and they might wanna see more of your stuff, which is good news if you wanna post something on social media, right? Because the algorithm's goal is to keep someone on the platform for as long as possible, yeah? And so they're now interested in that. But then the other thing that does is obviously it's really great publicity for your school to show how great you guys are, right, as musicians. And you might end up with some great friends who join your school because they saw your video of your preparation from NTC, right? So give yourselves an encore performance when you go home, okay? All right, can we do that? Yeah. Awesome, that's challenge number 1. Challenge number 2, right? And I alluded to this a little bit previously, right? But not all content on the internet is great content. Shocking, I know. Yeah, right? And a lot of music communities at this particular point, especially the trumpet community, I'll just go ahead and say it, we're at a point where we're more so in the infant stages of having ample quality content. Now that could be great trumpet playing, right? That could be great pedagogy. That could be any number of things. That could be great trumpet playing and great pedagogy with great personalities, right? As we talked about, that type of thing, right? And unfortunately, because of that small amount of content combined with when somebody does something, for example, that's remarkable in a way that triggers you, for example, right? And those videos get traction. We start to see a lot of misinformation on the internet. Not that the internet has misinformation, right? Everything on the internet is true, right? But hypothetically, we get misinformation, right? Now, there's a very interesting thing about ChatGPT. How many of you guys have used ChatGPT before? Have any of you guys used it to teach you how to play the trumpet? Okay. I went to ChatGPT last week, and I asked it to tell me the 5 most important aspects of playing a trumpet. And you know the first thing it told me? It's really important to breathe, take a full breath with your diaphragm to make sure that you're able to make a good sound. Do you guys know it's impossible to breathe with your diaphragm? And it said so with such conviction, like this is the way, right? But the reason it says that is because of the misinformation that is pulled, because there's a lot of people who are told that, right? By well-meaning people trying to help to improve, right? So if you go out there and you don't even acknowledge that content that's wrong, and you go to the content that's great, that's providing quality, right? And you engage with that content's gonna get pushed more. You guys understand that, what I'm saying here? And then that content will be encouraged to be produced more often. And if you're someone as a creator who wants to do that and you want to build your platform based off of your understanding of social media, then you can be the ones to do that as well. You're probably doing something right if you showed up at NTC as a competitor, right? And you have something of value to share with the world. And hopefully, if we all do this together, we can help to provide a space of quality and a space of encouragement and support for individuals who maybe, for example, live in impoverished communities and can't afford to take private lessons, but they're really passionate and they want to learn how to play trumpet. And when they search online, right, maybe they get someone like you who's showing great trumpet playing and answering questions genuinely. Or if you're not there, maybe they're getting someone who doesn't know them, who they don't know, and yet they're gonna tell you that they have every single answer and secret to mastering the trumpet in 5 seconds if you spend $100 and buy their course. Not that that exists on the internet, but speaking hypothetically, right? But if you have the opportunity as a viewer to say, no, I'm not paying attention to that. I'm paying attention to this. I'm lifting this up, right? Or as a creator, I'm going to be the person that creates that quality content that helps. Then it becomes a reputable space for individuals to come up and continue to follow on your craft. And maybe we can do, as my former teacher, Joey Tartell says, right, in his almost famous blog, right, to rid the world of bad trumpet playing, yeah, maybe we together can push through that initiative. Is that something you guys feel comfortable doing? Now here's the thing, you have a community here at NTC, yeah? And you're watching performers and you're inspired by them probably. I'm just taking a wild guess, right? If you're inspired by someone, follow them, support them, lift them up, especially if they're creating content online, because you want them to continue to create content online. You want them to get monetized on YouTube and make thousands of dollars a month and realize, oh wow, I can literally play trumpet in front of a camera for a living and continue to provide value to everyone, right? And as a result, continue to provide value to the overall trumpet community. And then these competitions become even better, right? Okay, can we do that? Those 2 challenges? All right. And when you do that, feel free to tag the National Trumpet Competition as well if it's relevant, right? And we'll see it and we'll interact with it. Okay, are there other questions? Go ahead.
About the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Do all NTC performances get posted, or is it just like finals?
It's all of the finals and all of the masterclasses. Yeah.
Do they videotape all the performances?
Yes. Or, well, the finals performances, yes. They don't videotape
So
the non-finals, yeah.
They don't videotape everybody?
No.
Okay.
At least not right now. Yeah. Maybe in the future, who knows? Who knows what the future holds? Yeah. But the finals performances, yeah, they're all live streamed, and then they're all posted as replay videos as well, that you can watch them. And some of them are pretty popular. It's a video that has 700,000 views of a melody that existed from Roller Coaster Tycoon, which I think is awesome. I think it's fantastic. There's a video that has over 2 million views that comes from a piece by Bach. I think that's pretty awesome. Yeah. And we have other videos like that as well. But yeah, it's the finals performances. But that doesn't stop you from taking your ensemble or your solo home and recording the culmination of that and then posting that video. So then you can still have that. And then, like I said, we can potentially interact with that. And what the algorithm will say is this content is like the NTC content. So if people like NTC, then they're probably also going to like the video that you post. And you'll gain traffic from that. Cool? Other questions? Okay, I'm going to release you to hear more trumpet. And as you listen to more trumpet, keep our conversations in mind as you go through that process. If you do want to see me headbutting a camera for content on TikTok, MS Grant Music is my handle. Also on YouTube and also on Instagram. So you can do that. And guess what? I'm going to curate the content on my feed and see what you guys have to post, and I'm going to support you and uplift you just as I've challenged you guys to do. All right? Okay, awesome. Thanks for your time.